everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I've got some fun DIYs to share with you using tin cans. I guarantee these are going to make you smile. So if you want to know how to make them, stick around. I'll show you how. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Right, Maxwell?
And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would hit that button.
Okay, I'm going to start with 3 cans for my project. I got one that measures 4 by 3 1/4. I'm using 2 of that size and one that measures 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And if you take a heat source, you can just kind of heat that up and that goo will start releasing, and then you can just really literally just wipe this off, and then you can get the rest of the residue off with just some regular Goo Gone. Okay, this first one is going to be a yard art. It's going to be a cow. I'm just putting some 2 dots down at the bottom for the legs and a dot on each side for the arms, and I'm spacing those about maybe 2.5 inches apart on the legs. And then I'm going to take a nail setting tool, and you could actually poke right through this with this. I started to do this with a drill bit, but you can actually just hammer this through and it will go all the way through your can. So if you don't want to drill it, you can push it through that way. And just going to go ahead and mark them each side if you're going to use a drill bit, so you do have the indent there in case you are drilling, it stays right in that hole. Okay, so on the bottom, you can see that this will go all the way through just using the nail setting tool, but on the sides it won't, so you will have to drill those out. And I guess it's because it has all the perforation there. It's just not thin enough right there. It's pretty thick, so you will have to drill the sides out. And then I'm just starting in here with a small drill bit, and I'm going to kind of waller it out a little bit. Just kind of move your drill bit around a little bit, and it'll open up those holes. And I'm using that piece of wood to kind of keep it in place so I don't have to put my hands inside of there. Next, I'm going to take my cans and I'm going to spray them with a white primer in a flat white. You want to start with a light coat and then graduate up, but you do want to get these completely covered in because it'll make the paint for acrylic painting a lot easier and it'll adhere to your cans a little bit easier. Okay, next I'm going to use a compass, and it opens up to 7/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to make a circle onto some pink craft foam. This is going to be for the cow's face, for his nose and his mouth area. And to cut it out, I'm just going to cut from the back part of my scissors. If you do this, you can get this pretty even. Now, this ended up being almost a 2-inch circle, so if you have a Cricut, you can cut that out with a Cricut. And next for his nose, I'm just taking a regular hole punch, and I'm just going to punch 2 holes in some black craft foam. Okay, for his mouth, I'm just going to take a little 1-inch piece of craft foam. I'm just going to cut a U shape right there. And then I'm going to cut another U shape right above the edge of it, where I'm only having maybe about 1/4 of an inch left over. So you're just making a little happy face. And then just going to cut it short so that it is a little bit small. And then that's how that's going to look. For the ears, I'm just going to cut a strip of white craft foam, and I'm going to fold it over and cut my ears out together. Now, these ears end up being maybe about 1.25 inches. You're just going to cut a leaf shape out of this, so go all the way around to the top and then come back down to the bottom. And then you're going to cut these in half and you'll have 2 ears. Then we're going to cut out 2 smaller ones out of the pink craft foam to go over the top of these. So it's just really just a leaf shape is all you're cutting. And then we're just going to glue the 2 together. I need 2 little 1/2-inch doll eyes. I'll give you the link for this kit. I got it on Amazon. As you got all your pieces put together, we're going to go ahead and start gluing together. We're going to put our little nostrils on here first for the nose. And then you're going to glue on your mouth. Just put a little bit of glue on this. It goes a long way. Don't put too much. You don't want it oozing. We're going to glue our ear inserts onto our ears. Okay, next we're just going to kind of center our nose and mouth right in the center here, and we're just going to glue it right in place. For our plastic eyes, we're just going to cut the back off of these, and I'm just using some miter shears to do this. Next, I'm taking a piece of scrap craft foam in white, and I'm just going to glue my eyes right on this. We're going to cut a circle on the outside of it, leaving about 1/4 inch all the way around that eye. So just make sure that you do leave enough room to cut that out. And don't worry if it's not just exactly perfect. You do just want to see some of the white overhang behind the black eye. And you're going to cut both of them out exactly the same way. And if you cut again by the back part of your scissors, it's a little bit easier as you turn it to cut it a little bit straight. Then to attach them, you want to hold them both up there at exactly the same time, kind of see where you want them. And then glue your first one in, and then just glue your second one in right there too. Add some spots. I'm just taking a 1-inch round brush, dipping it into some black acrylic paint, and I'm just pushing it down on here. Then we're going to go in here in a minute after we get all our circles in there, and then we're going to shape it so it's not completely straight. And you can put however many of these you want or wherever you want to. Just kind of randomly place them so that he does have some color. And I am putting one right above his head as well. And then I am going to turn him over and do some on the back also. Okay, then I'm taking a small paintbrush to kind of fill in just to make sure I get it completely sealed in. And I am going to start shaping it outside the circle to give it a little bit more different shaped spots. You don't want it just completely round, so add a little bit of character to it. And then you are going to want to add some to the back as well. To attach the ears, I'm just going to put some hot glue right down the side part. And I'm just going to hold it on until it dries. And I'm going to put the other one on the exact opposite side, matching that one. Okay, next to make some little horns, I'm just taking some air dry clay. And I'm just going to kind of knead it a little bit to get it kind of smooth because I don't want any wrinkles in it. And I'm just going to roll it out into the shape of some horns. And then once I get my 2 tips on each side done, I'll cut it in the center and I'll separate it.
Just kind of use the palm of your hand and then roll out the ends to make a point.
And you're just going to cut that in half, and you're going to turn up both sides so that the horns stick up straight, and then kind of smooth any areas that's not smooth with your fingers. Next, I'm going to take some little terracotta pots. These are mini pots. They measure 1.2 inches across the top part, and I'm just painting them with black acrylic paint, the inside, the outside, both. These are going to be for the legs and the arms. You're going to run a piece of jute through the bottom part, tie it in several knots, and we're going to do that to all 4 of these. Now, I'm going to cut mine off once I get it into my flower pot to about 8 inches because we are going to run it through the center of that can, and you're going to need to be able to pull it tight and tie your knot once you get it inside. So cut these about 8 inches in length for the legs and the arms, and then you're just going to run it right through the front, and I'm going to pull it all the way through, pulling it all the way where it's flush against the body. And then I'm going to stand it up, and I'm going to put a little nut at the end of it, and I'm just going to tie this off right at the top. So mine's going to hang about the length of the can. And just tie a couple of knots just to hold that in place, and then we're going to do exactly the same thing with the other one. And then we're going to trim those off here in a minute, and then we are going to glue those down to the bottom. But just make sure that they are the same length, your legs, when you get them done. Just make sure before you completely tie it off that they are the same length, because you will notice while they're hanging side by side. Once you get them exactly where you want them, go ahead and pull the little string out, glue a little bit into the bottom of your little flower pot on both of them, and then we're going to glue the little nuts inside the can on the inside. To attach the arms, you're going to do the same thing. Now, you don't want your arms sitting on the table. You want them lifted up. So just kind of tie your knot to where they are just a little bit above the bottom of the can. And you're going to tie this in several knots, and you're going to do exactly the same thing on the opposite side. Just try to make sure you do get these even. And then once you get them exactly where you want them, we're going to just glue them right inside. Go ahead and trim your piece off there, and then just glue those in. Okay, next, to beef up the arms a little bit, I'm just taking a pipe cleaner in a tan color, and I'm going to wrap it around my jute. And I'm putting it as tight together as I can because you want to cover up all the jute. Go all the way down to your flower pot, and then go all the way back up to your can. You should have enough in one of the 12-inch pieces of pipe cleaner to go all the way down and all the way back up. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other arm, and then we're going to do the same thing with the legs. This gave it a little bit of texture on the legs and the arms, and it wasn't just a piece of jute hanging there.
And then you're just going to cut that off and glue that down. And you're going to do the same thing with the other arm and the legs.
And this will also help to cover up the holes that you drilled into the can, because you are going to glue this up there, and it will cover those. And it didn't take that long to do. Just kind of keep wrapping it till you have them completely wrapped. And you could use any color that you wanted to. I just used a tan because I had it. If you wanted to use a pink or a white, you could do that too. And next, to attach our horns, we're just going to push that down inside of there to flatten it out so it's flat against the ledge. And we're going to do the same thing with the opposite side. Just bend that down and flatten that out.
Okay, then we're just going to put a little bit of glue on the inside, the top, and then we're going to glue it to the ear as well. And you're going to do exactly the same thing on the opposite side.
To give him a little character, I'm just taking a 1-inch piece of faux fur. You can get these at Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to glue it right to the very top part of his head. Okay, to complete my project, I'm just taking one of these plants I got from Amazon. I'm just kind of twist it out of here. This is stuck in a little flower pot, but you can twist them and get them out pretty easily. And you may have to put some of the pieces back on once you twist it off. And we're just going to stick it right down into the top of our little flower pot. Super easy. Look how cute he came out. Let me know what you think. This next one, we're starting with a can exactly like we did the first one. It has all the same holes drilled exactly like the cow we did. Now this one we're making a pig, and I'm painting this with an acrylic ballerina slipper paint.
For his snout, I'm taking some craft foam, and I'm going to take a compass and I'm going to open it up to 1 inch. And then I'm just going to make a circle on my craft foam. Now this is just regular craft foam that you get at Hobby Lobby. It's the thin craft foam, not the thick craft foam. To give it a raised look, I'm just going to take a cork and I'm going to cut 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to take some of that same craft foam and I'm just going to wrap it around just to kind of cover it up completely. So when you're looking at the side, you don't see the cork. And then you're just going to glue it right to the center of your little circle. For his little nostrils, we're just going to take some craft foam and we're just going to do 2 hole punches from this, just like we did on the cow. And we're just going to glue those right onto our little snout. And you don't need a lot of glue on the craft foam, just put a little glue. You don't want too much oozing out. If you get some oozing out, you probably want to get it off of there while it's still hot. This little smile, we're going to do very similar that we did to the cow. We're just going to kind of go around in a U shape and then cut a little sliver above that U shape so that we have just a small little smile. And then we're going to glue it on with just a little bit of glue. You don't want too much. A little goes a long way on this craft foam. Next, for his eyes, we're going to do those just like we did the cow. We're just going to cut the back of them off, and we're using about a 1/2 inch eye on these. Just like the cow, you're going to glue them to the craft foam and then just cut them out 1/4 of an inch from the edge. For the face, we're just going to put our snout right down into the center. Just kind of center it on your can. And then we're going to put our eyes on both sides. Now, I wish I had put my eyes a little bit closer together. I would recommend putting them just a little closer together. To add some cheeks, I'm just taking some contrasting pink color and a round sponge brush, and I'm just going to sponge it on both sides of his snout. And then you can fill it in with a paintbrush to kind of get it evened out. For the ears, I'm going to use some pink craft foam. I'm just going to cut it in half. And then I'm just kind of making a half circle on this. And then I'm coming up, making a little point at the top, coming back down, and then finishing out my half circle. And then those are just going to flop over the edge, just like that. Then to give them a nice crease, I'm just taking an embossing gun just to kind of fold those over, and then they will form to fit over the edge of that can. We're just going to glue them into the back and over the ledge. So you're putting your glue just onto the back part and onto the crease. So I'm going to poke a hole into the back with my nail setting tool for a tail. Taking a 1/4 inch dowel stick and I'm wrapping my pipe cleaner around it all the way till I get to the end. And then just pull that off of there, and then we're going to cut it a little bit short because we don't want it too long. And then we're going to stick it into the back part of the can, and then we're going to come in and glue it inside. Next, I'm painting 4 terracotta pots just like the cow in the color pink to match my can. To give our pig a little personality, we're going to give a few little eyelashes on both sides. And I'm just using a black Sharpie paint pen. To attach the arms and the legs. Now I did find a quicker, easier way to do this. Tie your nut onto your string first of all, and then we're going to glue it down into our can and pull it through, and then we'll attach our little pots to the end of that. It made it a little bit easier than trying to do it the other way. And once you get those tied on, just run them through the bottom hole, and then we're just going to attach a little bit of glue down at the bottom just like we did on the last one. And then do the same thing with the other one. For the arms, you're just going to tie this in several little knots, and then we're just going to run it right through the hole and glue it in the inside. Okay, just run it through that side hole right there. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side and then just glue those in place. Just like the first cow, we're just going to string our pots on here, tie them in a knot, and we're going to glue them in. Just make sure that you do get them even. Just like the first cow, we're just going to take some pipe cleaner and we're going to wrap it all the way around our jute, all the way from the top to the bottom and then back up. And I'm going to go quick on this because you already saw me do it on the cow, but it's exactly the same way. You're just wrapping it where you don't see the jute anymore. Give her a little bit of character. I'm just taking about a 1/2 inch ribbon, just tying a small little bow. And if you're using a ribbon that's not double-sided, try to get the pattern both on the outside, and then I'm just going to glue it right between her ears. Then I'm going to add one of those plants like I did in the first one. And that was pretty much it. Look how cute she is. Let me know which one's your favorite today. On this last one, I'm going to make a Highland cow. This is a smaller can. It measures 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. And I'm just taking some raw sienna paint and painting this. Now, this took several coats to get this completely covered. I'm taking a piece of tan craft foam. I'm going to measure 1 3/4 inches, and I'm going to make another mark at the beginning. And then I'm going to draw an oval shape between those 2 points for his face. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of get a nice oval shape that's about maybe 1 inch tall. And then I'm going to use the back part of my scissors to cut it out because it does make it a lot easier and a lot less rigid if you do cut from the back of your scissors. Then with the hole punch, just punch 2 little circles out for the nostrils, just like we did on the last 2. The mouth, I'm just going to cut a long curved piece, almost the same length as the face itself. And it's only going to be about 1/4 inch thick. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to go all the way across. Like that. You use hot glue to attach all my pieces together. And you don't need a lot, just a little bit goes a long way. And then on the mouth, you just want to put a little bit of glue across there. You don't want to overdo it because you don't want to see a lot of oozing. Just kind of lightly go across there and then just glue that on. We're just going to glue it right into the center of our can. For his hair, I'm using some faux fur, and I just got this on Etsy. It's just an amber color, and just remove all the excess fur off of there. And this ends up measuring 1 3/4 by 1 1/4. And we're just going to glue it right to the very top, overlapping the edge. So we're going to go inside the can a little bit. And then we're going to lift it back, and we're going to put some glue on the back side and glue it down flat. And then just grab a comb and kind of just shape it out how you want to. For the ears, I'm taking a rust-colored craft foam and a tan-colored craft foam, and I'm just going to cut the shape of a leaf, just like I did on the first cow. And then I'm going to cut a smaller one for the insert to go inside of that ear to give it a little bit of contrast. And then we're just going to glue the 2 together. Next, I'm taking some air dry clay in the color terracotta, and I'm just going to roll it out into like a log shape. And then I'm going to sharpen both ends so they have a point. And then I'm going to split them in half, and then I'm going to push the ends in so that they're finished out. Now we're going to set this aside here for a little bit, and then we're going to come back in and we are going to smash it down in the center a little bit. Those are drying. We're going to go ahead and attach the ears, just coming down both sides. Just put a bead of the hot glue there and just hold it until it dries. And you can do the same thing for the opposite side. Just kind of make sure that they are even. Decided to add just one eye to him. I'm just going to cut one of those little doll eyes, the back off of it, and I'm just going to glue it right to the side here. And then I'm going to flatten just one little section of these horns. Then I'm taking my nail setting tool. I'm going to punch holes in this so that I can add the arms and the legs. Now you really don't have to use a drill bit on this. I'm going to show you how easy it is to just go ahead and punch right through this can. If you just hit it hard and just kind of twist on it, you can get your holes put in there pretty easily. And then we're going to put a couple on the side for the arm. And honestly, you should have done this probably before you painted it. I mean, I didn't crack any paint off of it, but I would recommend doing it before you get all your stuff on it. But you can just push through those holes, and we're going to match one up on the opposite side exactly the same way. Then for the legs and the arms, I'm painting them the same color as the can, attaching my little nuts just like I did before, attaching them to the can, putting the legs on, getting them straight, and then just tying those off in a knot. I'm not going to show you exactly how to do this again because we've already done it twice, and then we're just going to wrap it with the same pipe cleaner we did on the cow, just the same exact color. Attach the horns. I'm just going to glue it to the very back part of the can, and to the ear. And then just hold that in place until it dries, and you're going to put the other one exactly the same way on the opposite side. I'm coming back in with a little bit more of that faux fur to fill in some gaps that I had. So right between the ears and the other fur, I'm just gluing a little strip, about a 1-inch strip in here. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. That way it'll go over his ears a little bit. Okay, then I'm just putting a plant right down in the center part, and then I'm going to take some of that faux fur, cut it into little pieces, and I'm going to put it on the arms and the legs. I think this really kind of finished him out good. And that's just a little 1/2-inch by 1/2-inch piece. Okay, and there he is. I think he turned out super cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I really had a lot of fun making these. If you like these kind of videos, be sure and give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video upload. Thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching.